Hey, thank you for taking the time to click on today's video. You know, it's not too often that I give politicians some kudos, but today I'm going to do that. I'm going to say congratulations, Washington. You finally did something that is really beneficial to all of us as retirees. So you've clicked on this video because you want to know about this new rule with the required minimum distributions, and namely the positive benefit of these RMDs going down. What does it mean? What does it mean to you specifically? And what are going to be the benefits as a result of these lowered RMDs? Well, first we need to just cover a little bit of ground to understand what a required minimum distribution is. If you're not to that age, but you've heard about required minimum distributions and RMDs, you kind of need to know a little bit of the basic story. So the idea here is that we have been given a privilege, an opportunity, as it were, to be able to set money aside for ourselves in different pre-tax retirement programs. So if we put money into a 403B or a 401k or even a traditional IRA or some other variant of that IRA, we're going to have an opportunity of getting a tax deduction on the money that we have set aside and put into that account. It's either a tax deduction or it's a deferral, meaning I took money out of my paycheck, I put it into that 401k before my paycheck was taxed. And what this means is that that was money that never got reported as income, therefore I never paid income tax on that money. Now, the worst nightmare in the world for the IRS is that we die never taking any of that money out of our pre-tax accounts and paying taxes on it, right? That's just like a nightmare on Elm Street for them. Well, the idea here is that when we turn a certain age, now the government says, okay, you've had so many years of not paying us taxes on these dollars. Now we want you to start taking these dollars out and begin paying to some taxes on it. Now, the old rule, the old rule used to be that when you turned 70 and a half, that was the age at which you had to start taking these things called required minimum distributions. You start at 70 and a half, and every year for the rest of your life, you take the money out. Well, then the Secure Act came along at the end of 2019 and basically said, hey, we're now going to push that age out to age 70 and, age 72. So now we've gone from 70 and a half to age 72. Pretty awesome. Some of us were able to dodge the bullet because we weren't 70 and a half by the end of December 31st of 2019. And so now we didn't fall under the old rules, we fell under the new rules. So now we don't have to take this thing called required minimum distributions until 72. Cool. Well, when the Secure Act was passed, there was supposed to be another provision that was eventually passed that was going to take these required minimum distributions and it was going to lower the factor. In other words, it was going to reduce the amount that we were going to have to take out of our pre-tax accounts to be satisfying this thing called the required minimum distribution. Well, guess what? It didn't really happen, and we all kind of gave up hope, at least I did, on this ever being passed, because then we had COVID that hit in 2020, you had the stock market crash, 37% down, everybody's losing money, and finally the Congress says, okay, we're just going to waive required minimum distributions for 2020. It would be a poke in the eye with a sharp stick. 2021 comes along, nope, no change to the required minimum distribution. But guess what? January 1st of 2022, and they pass a new set of rules. Now we have a new updated uniform life expectancy table that the IRS is now using, and all financial custodians are going to be using. And this is now showing us that we get to take in a required minimum distribution, but at a much lower amount. So instead of the IRS saying that if we're 72, we're going to live 25.6 more years, now the IRS is saying if we're 72, we're going to live 27.4 more years, something like that. Well, the longer the life expectancy, the lower of an amount we have to take from our pre-tax accounts. So this is great news. What this means is that regardless of whether you fell under the old rules or you fell under the new rules, you're now going to have to take less out of your retirement accounts in order to be able to satisfy this thing called required minimum distributions. Now let's talk a little bit about what the benefit here is. The benefit is you get to save more money. You get to keep more money in your retirement accounts. This gives you an opportunity to hopefully stay ahead of these required minimum distributions. This gives you an opportunity to be able to continue to grow and to compound and earn interest on that money that you've set aside in these pre-tax accounts. This also gives you an opportunity to be able to save in tax, because not only will you take out less, which is taxable, therefore pay less tax, but it's also going to give you an opportunity to potentially pay less tax on your Social Security. I assume if you're 72 or older, you're already on Social Security, and Social Security is taxable for most of us. So this is going to give you an opportunity to be able to save a little bit of tax on that Social Security benefit. Guess what else it's going to do? It's going to afford you the opportunity to be able to do more money towards Roth conversions. If you have to take out less of an RMD, you're now freed up to be able to take more and move it from that pre-tax account to your Roth IRAs. This is a big, big thing. We look at taxes down the road and we say, chances are with the amount of debt this country has, we're going to see taxes go up for us. So it's an incentive for us to do more in saving in those Roths. It's going to give us an opportunity to move more money from our pre-tax account to those Roth accounts. And yes, we'll pay taxes on it, but we'll pay taxes less today than we might in a year, in 2 years, in 5 years, whatever it is. Now, there's one other little thing, though, that I would kind of bring to your attention with regards to this new uniform table of life expectancies that the IRS has come out with, and that is duration. You see, under the old rules, they had life expectancy running to age 115, and you're thinking, well, I'm never going to make it to 115. Yeah, neither am I. But the idea is that we have to pay attention to what they're telling us. Today's uniform tables are now running to age 120. Now, listen, they're not doing this for their health. They're doing this because statistically, facts are showing us that as Americans, we are living longer than ever before. I know it sounds absolutely so far out that you would ever live to 120. But guess what? They are already statistically proving that people are living longer than ever before. And what does this mean? What this means is that you have to be ideally and properly positioned for living longer than what you anticipated. You see, there is so many cases of people that thought, oh, well, I'm just going to have normal life expectancy. You know, nobody in my family lives past age 76. I'm just going to go ahead and spend all my money because I know I'm not going to make it. And then guess what? They wake up and they're 77. They wake up again and they're 78. They wake up again and they're age 84. So if we want to make sure that we are investing properly in the event that we live longer than ever before, and we avoid the fear of running out of money before we run out of life, I cannot emphasize enough. Not only have I preached investing for income so that you have interest and dividends that are covering these required minimum distributions, but think about it. Think about if all of your principal was able to be safer and your principal was producing 4, 5, 6% interest and dividends. Now you could do two things. You could have income that you could spend, income to satisfy the required minimum distribution, but you would also have the ability of preserving and protecting your principal. So many people today are spending their principal for the sake of the RMD, or spending their principal for just the ability of having fun in retirement. But you can have fun and still preserve your assets. You just need to know how to invest. And I'm going to suggest, if you have not looked into investing for income, looking into taking your principal and getting that principal earning interest and dividends, you are completely and totally missing out on a major blessing that you could be having in retirement. Less risk, more growth, and more income to spend. So I do hope that this helps you better understand required minimum distributions. If you like this video, I'm going to encourage you, give me a thumbs up. I always appreciate it. It helps me understand what you like. And if you appreciate these videos, I'm going to ask you to hit that little subscribe button, hit that bell. This way we remind you every time we have a video. And if you feel that you've got some friends that could probably use a little bit of this information, I encourage you, share it with them as well. I'm Matthew Johnson, and remember, it's up to you to make today a great day. Thanks so much for watching.